All right, so now let's just add the other properties that we're going to need, or the other arguments that we're going to need when we want to send an email. And by that, I'm referring to the options. So if you look at this options panel here, you see that we have like we need at least 4. We don't have to specify the reply to property every time, but you see this 4: the from email, the to email, subject, and message. We need at least those 4. So if you come back here in our user controller, you realize that we've created 1. So what we need to do now is to create the others that we need to have in place. So let's come here, and just below this guy here, I'll come down here and then I'll add a subject. So I'll say const subject. That's going to be equal to password reset request or something. Password reset request. And then maybe you can add the name of your website or something like that. Then we're going to have a send to. So let's change here to send to underscore to, and that's going to, you want to send it to the user email. That's the email of this user. So we're going to say user dot email. Then we're going to have sent from. So sent from, and that's just going to be pointing to our email, our Outlook email. So we're just going to use process.env, process.env, and then the variable name is email user underscore user. Yeah, so those are the 4 things we need. We're not going to add a reply to, and even if you wanted to add a reply to, you don't want your user to be able to reply this email. So maybe you can use something like no reply at blah blah blah.com, but I'm not going to add that here. So now that you've added, at least we have the 4 minimum options that we need to send an email. I'm going to quickly open a short try catch block. Now ordinarily I will not need a try catch block, but in this case I'm just going to use it, and you'll see why. So here I'll say that I want to first send the email. So I'll say await send email, and let's auto import it. So I'll hit enter to auto import it. And what are the arguments that we are giving it? So first off, we need to pass the subject. All right, then we need to pass the message. Then we need to pass the email we are sending it to. So send to. Then lastly, the email we are sending it from. So sent from. Then if you have a reply to email, you can then add that here. So reply underscore to, but for this one, I'm not going to add it. And even if I wanted to add it, I'll use maybe an email that I know I'm not going to attend to. So something like no reply at xyz.com. So now after I try to send the email, I will then go ahead and send a response. So response.status and 200 success, and then I'm just going to add a JSON message. So JSON so in this one I'm going to first give it a success property. So success, and I'll set that to true. And then lastly I'm going to give it a success message. So message, and then this one I'll just say reset email sent. So reset email sent. So that's about it. Now if for any reason, oh, there's something wrong here, it needs to be an object, so I need to wrap everything inside an object. Sorry about that. Okay, so now if for any reason this email does not send, then I just want to throw an error. So response to status first, and I'll just do 500 server error, and then I'll just throw new error. I'll say something went wrong, or email not sent. Email not sent. Please try again. Try again. Yeah. All right. So that's about it for this one. And I use a try catch block because I want these two to I want to make sure that I've sent the email before I throw a success response. And there is like limited ways for me to monitor this email sending process. So that's why I just put it inside a try catch block. So if it's successful, this happens. If not, this happens. Okay. So that's about it for this one. Fingers crossed. Now we're going to go ahead and test this out from here. So I'll just save this guy. Oh, and I'm not going to need this response.send anymore. So I'll go ahead and save this guy. Now before I test this functionality, there's something I should absolutely say. There are different scenarios where you may get an error if this, like, your sending email functionality does not work. You may get an error. For example, if your internet service provider has been maybe blacklisted on any email sending platform, if your IP address has been blacklisted, you may get an error, even if normally the email should be sent, but because of your IP address has been blacklisted maybe on any other email service platform, you may not be able to send the email. But let me just cross my fingers and try it, because in my own experience one of my IP address was blacklisted. All right, so I'll just make sure that I have this guy restarted. Okay, great, it's restarted. So I'll come here and try it, and I need to try it with an actual email. So I'll come to my Insomnia here, and I'm going to register an actual email. So let me do one of my test email. So this is going to be Donald Z aha .ng. Okay, so this is an actual email that I have. The name is going to be Zeno, and the password is going to be Zeno1234. So I'll register this email. So send, or Zeno123 rather. Okay, so you see the email has been registered, and I'll log in with this email as well. So let me grab it, copy that, and go to login user, and then I'll just change this one here. So then Zeno1234, so that's correct. Okay, now we can go ahead and, fingers crossed, let's test this out. So if there is any error, we'll get that error in the console. If the email is sent successfully, we'll also get the message in the console. So I'll go ahead and log in first. Aha, so you see I've logged in here. Oh, invalid email or password. Oh, I think it's Zeno123 I use. By the way, I don't even need to be logged in. I forgot that I don't need to be logged in. But anyway, let's just create an actual email that we need to do. So donaldz.ng, yeah, so this is a correct email, and I will then come to the forgot password, and then I'll use this email that I just created here. So let's delete this guy, and then let's just paste in that new email. So fingers crossed, let's test this out. I'll click on send. Token validation field path created that is required, created at, oh, I think there was a mistake in there was a typographical error, so let me just check. Created at, oh, this says create at. It should be created at. I'm sure you saw it when I made that mistake. Sorry about that. Expires at. Okay, that's correct also. All right, so I'll go ahead and save this, and let's test it one more time. So let my server restart. Come on. Okay, so it has restarted, and let's try this one more time. Send. Yes, so you see we get success true, and the message is reset email sent. Now remember, in our reset email functionality, if it's successful, we log it to the console. If it fails, we log it to the console. But now we already know that it's successful, so let's see the console and see what we have. Aha, this is great. So you see in our console we have, after our server started, we have accepted donaldzng@gmail.com, and technically it's successful. So you see the response, everything works just fine. So to fully confirm this, we need to actually open our email. So I'll bring up my browser and check my email address. Oh, that's not it. So let me bring up my browser and then I'm just going to check my email address. So let me do that. Aha, so this is the email address I used to sign up. And if you look here, you will see that we now have a new email from Node Course. And then let me just wait for it to load properly, or let me just open it. So I'll open this first message, and then you see, hello Zeno, please use the URL blah blah blah, and this is the reset URL. Another thing we need to do is to check our database to make sure that we have the token saved in the database. So I'll come here to the database. I'll still in the browser, by the way. I'll just come here to my database, and if you look at the p-invent app, so I may need to refresh this page so that I can get all. So let me refresh the page. Okay, so I have the page refreshed, and if you look under this p-invent app, you see that we now have tokens. If you click on that tokens, you will see so you see we now have the data that is associated with that specific user in terms of resetting the password. So you see we have a token here, a hash token, by the way, and then we now have everything here. Okay, great. So now there's one more thing we need to do. When a user tries to reset their password, we need to be able to check if there is a token that's associated with that user. And if there's a token that's already associated with that user, we want to delete that token. That's one thing we need to do. If there's a token associated with the user, first delete the token, then create a fresh token, because you know why? The expires at would have already expired. So if there's a token associated with a user, after 30 minutes it expires. If a user tries to reset their password, let's say 2 weeks from when that token was created, you want to first look in the database, clear the token, then create a new token for that specific user. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to do here. So we're going to do it in our code. So let's come back to our code here, and I'm just going to scroll up just to so just the top of our application here. After we get the user email, we find the user email and make sure that okay, it exists in our database. I'll come down here and say, let me add a comment. I'll say delete token if it exists in the database. Okay, so that's what we want to do. First, if there's any token there, we'll first delete it, then we'll create a fresh token. All right, so here I'm just going to create a variable here. I'll say let token, and that's going to be equal to, we're going to await token. So we're using the token model, we're checking the token in the database. I'll say token dot find one. And what do we want to use to find the token? So I'll create an object. I want to find the token by the user ID. So user ID, like so, and the user ID is going to be this particular user here dot ID. So here we're going to say user dot underscore ID. Okay, so now if a token exists, we want to find it, then we want to delete it. So here I'll now say if token, then delete it. So here I'll say await token dot delete one, and then I'll just call it. All right, so look at the process here. We check if the user exists. If the user exists, we check if the user has a token associated with it already. In other words, if they've reset their password before, they will definitely have a token. If they have a token, delete that token, then create a new reset token, and then save that new reset token to the database. I hope you appreciate what's going on here. So because the new reset token, now we have a new expiry date, which will be 30 minutes into the future. So that's about it for this one. We've been able to break down all the processes that you need to reset your password, or at least to get a reset email. So in the next video, we'll now build out the functionality for what happens when you click on that reset email. All right, so thank you so much for this one. I'll see you in the next one.